We must have the courage to bet on our ideas, position ourselves in the right places, and develop a will to be the best. Unlock the guidance, tools, and resources you need to design your best life. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing the Chief Executive Officer of NCB Capital Markets Limited, my mentor and leader, Stephen Gooden. This is Wealth Unlocked. Hi, boss. You ready?
Yep.
You don't do things like the average person, right? You do things a little differently.
Yeah.
So when is Stephen his best self?
So Tracy, every morning I wake up, I try to be the best version of myself, right? But I find that I am my best self during challenging times of adversity. And just looking back at my career, the biggest growth for me happened during adverse times, right? That's when the creative juices, flow, and I'm at my best.
I remember a few years ago, you gave everybody on the management team a book called The Art of Being Unreasonable.
Yes,
right?
yes.
I'm gonna ask you though, if you were to give one book to everyone in the world, so not just your management team, but everyone in the world, what book would you give?
So the book you just referred to is a very interesting book, but if I were to give one book to everybody, I would say Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's a classic, one of those bestsellers, and it speaks to 14 principles that, people should apply if it is that they want to be successful in life. Not just in terms of wealth creation, but just generally.
Your ascension to senior management or to the top has been pretty stellar. You actually ascended to the top at 26, right? Where you became head of one of the fund management companies in Jamaica. How did your journey in the industry begin? And I know you're going to tell me that you were just 26 yesterday, right? So it's not that long a journey. But talk to us about how you got into the industry.
Okay, so I actually started the industry on December 7, 2001. I started as a research analyst at a company called Manufacturer Sigma Merchant Bank. I developed a passion.
Days.
Just the other day, 2001. I developed a passion for the equities market there. I stayed there for a little under 2 years, then I joined the National Insurance Fund, where I was an investment analyst with responsibility to manage a sizable equities portfolio for the National Insurance Fund. I stayed there 12 months. I
was about to say.
12 months. And then joined NCB Capital Markets in 2004. So that was actually my first stint at NCB Capital Markets as a portfolio manager, where we ended up working together for the first time.
Yes.
Right? And at NCB Capital Markets, I expanded my knowledge beyond equities, right, to include fixed income securities and so on. So 2006, 2 years after, I got an opportunity to join Pan-Caribbean Financial Services Limited, which is the old Manufacturer Sigma Merchant Bank.
So you went back to
essentially as a vice president and general manager for the Unit Trust Fund Management Company, which was the largest at the time. Stayed there until 2009. Then I rejoined.
Came back. You came home.
Came home and we worked together again. Then I was vice president investments and trading. Then 3 years after, I got the opportunity to lead NCB Capital Markets. And as I said, the rest is history, and it has been a great ride.
So speaking of that great ride, Stephen, the 26-year-old that started that ride versus the Stephen now, is there any difference? Have you made any shifts or evolution along the way?
Yeah, no, that's it. I think the biggest change for me is the mindset shift, being more aspirational. I introspect a lot more, very conscious of how I interact with others and the impact that I have. And I would also say I'm a bit more thoughtful in my thought process, structured in my thought process, so to speak. The Stephen Gooden at 26 was all over the place, right? Over the years, I've learned to become more structured in terms of how I approach things in achieving my ultimate goal or goals.
So speaking of your ultimate goals and being aspirational, and as you mentioned at the beginning, which I've been a witness to in terms of when Stephen is his best self, all of that has allowed you to lead a lot of things that NCB Capital Markets has pioneered and has achieved in terms of the launching of Go IPO and things like that. Talk to us about some of those proud accomplishments since leading NCB Capital Markets.
So, there are quite a few. I mean, as a company, as a country, we have gone through many ups and downs. We have gone through 2 debt exchanges, the pandemic in recent times, right? But I'll say the proudest achievement for me is when we pivoted to pursue regional expansion, right? We used to be a Jamaican-centric company with a fairly simple business model. Now we have expanded into being a regional investment banking powerhouse with reach all over the Caribbean via hubs in the Cayman Islands, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, right? And the business model has shifted. We continue to pivot based on the environment. So I would say that is probably the proudest achievement, pivoting to what we have become now.
Having been a witness to that, I'd definitely say that is something to be proud of, indeed. Stephen, as the head of the, and I'm going to say it, the leading investment firm in Jamaica, for the future generation looking on, those that are aspiring to be the next Stephen Gooden, what advice do you have for them?
Right, so my advice would be to dream big. And in pursuing those dreams, you don't feel a little bit queasy in the belly. It means that you're not being bold enough
with your aspirations. You're not dreaming big enough.
Yeah, we need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? That is common with all successful people. And in pursuing that dream, you need to be disciplined and have fun at the same time.
So a lot of these thoughts, this advice that you just mentioned, and even the journey, a lot of it doesn't happen on your own, right? I would have asked a guest on another episode what she thought about mentorship. So I'm going to ask you the same question. How important you think mentorship is?
It is very, very important, right? You will read books, learn from reading and so on, but nothing beats interacting with other persons that have, been there, done that, and not necessarily in your field, So I will always encourage people to find a mentor, that person that stands out, that person that you may aspire to be, right? Because I can tell you this, at a minimum, in interacting with people, at a minimum, we learn by osmosis. Right, so I do believe that mentorship is important. For me, I've benefited from it. I have mentors that don't even know that they were my mentors, right? But I always look for persons that stand out and try to emulate them, trying to learn from what they have done. And on a personal level, I try to do that as well with others.
I'm put you on the spot, Stephen. Name one of those mentors.
No, I have many. So, for example, my bosses, Patrick Hilton, Dennis Cohen, I learn a lot from them. My chairman, group chairman, Michael Leachin, learn a lot. Jamie Dimon, Jeff Bezos. I mean, they don't know me, but I'm their disciple, right? I read a lot, where those persons are concerned. Yeah, so I also believe in what is called reverse mentoring, right?
I like that.
So persons that look to me for mentorship, I also look to them for mentorship as well, So, junior team members, younger team members, it provides me an opportunity to better understand their world. which is really the world as it is today, you know. We're not as young as them anymore, you know. Right? And the
Yes.
world is a different place. So I benefit significantly from interacting with them. So it's a two-way street, really.
And that's really how it should
And that's how it
be.
should be. I mean, as I seek to continuously improve, especially as a leader, you know, I learn a lot from the younger team members.
Moving a little away from the professional Stephen to the personal Stephen, if I was to pick up the Stephen Gooden personal wealth creation playbook, what are some of the key chapters in that
The key
book?
chapters. So I have a three-prong approach to wealth creation, right? So the first element is maximizing my current income. So being the best at what I do to maximize my current earnings, because that is the foundation for investing, right? So that is one piece. Another piece is securing my retirement. Can't rely on pension alone.
Correct.
And that is where, you know, my real estate strategy comes into play. And it's a strategy that involves debt. Right? A lot of people are afraid of taking on debt, but when it comes on to real estate, a mortgage is the most efficient debt out there, right? So how I organize myself is that, you know, I look for real estate opportunities, minimum upfront investment, and the idea is that the income should be able to at least service the debt or come close to servicing the debt. So by the time I retire at 60 latest, what will happen is that all the debt would have been cleared. I would have an sizable asset portfolio, and all that income, although I'm not benefiting from it now because it's servicing debt, all that income upon retirement would be my retirement money. Now, having secured the retirement, what that does is allows me to take more risk in managing my surplus funds, right? And that's where the equities market comes into play. As I say, I've been a big fan of the stock market, dating how far back. My first stock market investment was probably when I was 12, 13,
Wow.
right? So it's in my DNA.
So sticking with the personal side, Stephen, you are a dad. Your oldest son is in high school, the best high school,
Of
and
course.
your twins are in prep school. So
Correct.
relatively speaking, still fairly new to the fatherhood role. How did becoming a father change your financial perspective?
No, man, it changed it in a big way, right? I mean, prior to becoming a father, it was more about me. Now it is mostly about them and ensuring that, you know, they are financially secured.
That intergenerational wealth
And
is setting up.
intergenerational wealth, right? So my grandparents would have worked hard, organized themselves in such a way to ensure that my parents had a better quality of life. Likewise, my parents would have done the same with me. So it is natural that, you know, when it comes on to my kids, I want them to have a better quality of life. So financial independence is very important, right? And, you know, intergenerational wealth transfer is very important. And you start asking yourself certain questions. What if something happens to me, right?
What happens to them?
What happens to them? So there are certain things that I didn't embrace in the past, such as insurance planning, which is now very relevant as a part of my wealth management strategy.
What lessons, though, Stephen, would you instill in your boys?
Boy, I would tell you the same lessons that my parents instilled in me. And if I achieve 50% of that, I think I would have done a great job, right? So you know, when it comes on to values, you know, my parents, you know, they were very big on that, right? So, you know, accountability, you know, integrity, empathy, those things were very, very important to them. And those are things that I want to instill in my kids. So secondly, my parents allowed me to experiment with entrepreneurship at a very early age, right? So at age 9, I got my first pair of parakeets, and that kind of launched my bird breeding business. So from time to time, I mean, walk down Hope Road, towards the pet store, my bird cage, selling birds to the pet shop, Phoenix Avenue.
So they actually bought the birds?
Yeah, man, they bought the birds, man. I would negotiate and it was good income, right? And I went into the dog breeding business.
Yes, I've heard
right?
many stories about
yeah, man,
that.
Yeah, man. And, so not that I'm insisting that my kids should become entrepreneurs, right? For me, whatever they want to do, what is important to me is that they do the best. They be the best at what they do. But there are certain characteristics of entrepreneurship that will help you in whatever you do. And thirdly, money management.
Stephen, we've spoken about the personal and the professional journey, which has been very amazing. I mean, I admire you. I mean, you're my boss every day. I admire a lot of what you've accomplished, how you've gone about accomplishing it. But I'm sure it was by no means an easy journey, and you've had setbacks along the journey. How you deal with the obstacles?
Yeah, man. So first things first, in pursuit of success, you just have to appreciate that there are going to be obstacles along the way, right? And you're fooling yourself if it is that you believe it's going to be an easy journey, right? So I view obstacles, I view failures as a learning opportunity, right? I try not to allow these things to cripple me, right? It just motivates me to be a better person. So I've had my fair share of obstacles along the way. And as such, my life has been about, continuous pivoting, right? And it has made me a better person, both on a professional level and a personal level. So I embrace these things.
In looking at building your best self, how important is it for you to give back to the community? And you can tell us a little bit about, because you're very involved in your alma mater.
Yeah, no, man. So community is very important. I mean, what is life without giving back, right? At the end of the day, everyone's success has benefited from someone else's journey. So why be selfish? So community involvement is very important, and not just in terms of monetary contribution, but you can give back in many ways. Mentorship, impacting the life of others by spending the time, right? So you mentioned Woolmers. I'm very active at Woolmers. I used to be the president of the Old Boys Association. I'm currently on the board of management for the Woolmers schools, because it's a joint board, and I'm chairperson for the subcommittee that oversees the boys' schools. So, giving back to Woolmers is very important for me. It set it was a very great foundation, put it that way, right? And I want, the young men and women, because there are Woolmers girls as well, to benefit from the experiences that I have had, and I want to give back, I want to contribute. So as I said, community involvement is key. I'm a firm supporter of that.
I love that, Stephen, and I think it's a good way for us to end on, because a lot of people know the NCB capital market, Stephen, and they just think of the professional Stephen, not knowing that there is this side of Stephen that's big in giving back and empowering young men to be able to achieve a lot of the great things that you have, no matter their beginnings, no matter where they're from, no matter what they want to do. It doesn't even have to be in the financial industry. Correct. It can be anything. Thank you so much, Stephen. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did.
It was great.
All right, take care.
Yeah, man, thanks.